as a partial way to thank you guys for putting up with all my football videos, I want to cover a topic here that gets often requested, but I kind of shy away from talking about this too much, and that is the topic of religion. And I kind of shy away from it due to my personal stance on it. I almost said my personal beliefs, but, well, I guess they are technically my personal beliefs, and that is I am a non-believer. I believe that all religions are equally bullshit that I've known and studied. That may sound a bit, juvenile, just say they're all bullshit or anything like that. But it's just something that I've grown into. I was raised as a religious individual, and it's something that I evolved, or just, I don't want to say like I'm more evolved than someone who believes in religion, but people may argue that that's the case. But anyway, it's something that I've drawn my own conclusions on, and I choose not to believe and use my quote-unquote common sense. Anyway, what I want to talk about here, though, is where do you, and myself for that matter, see religion 10 plus years into the future? The reason why I say that is we live in a society now where it's no longer taboo to be anti-religion, to be an atheist, to be a non-believer, whatever you want to call yourself that doesn't affiliate themselves with a known religion. And it's to that end that I say, if you constantly see the number of atheists growing and the non-believers in general growing, and you see church attendance decreasing and the number of people that overtly just come out and just speak on it, whether it's a comedian in the footsteps of George Carlin doing atheism as part of his stand-up routine, or just a TV show like South Park mocking religion, having characters claim to be atheists, etc., etc. When you see more things like that happening on a daily basis, you have to ask yourselves, where will religion be in the future? And will it ever get to the point that religion becomes the minority? And I think for the first time ever that it may not be in my lifetime, but there is a good possibility that religion could someday be a minority consent. Now, it's got a lot of hurdles to overcome, one of which being religion has just been indoctrinated in so many people's minds. It's taught as a general, this is true type thing to a number of people. And one of the main things that makes me think that there's a chance, I know I said before it's a good chance, I think it's more of just a chance that religion becomes a minority consensus, is the internet. If there's one thing that the internet has, not in essence created, but expanded upon, it is the free flow of thought and just general discussion of religion. And the number of people that have basically just openly discussed, questioned their beliefs, become non-believers, or just talked with other non-believers, and someone like me making a video as a non-believer as an example, the number of those people doing that has increased insurmountably because of the internet. And I honestly see the internet becoming the one main source for just mass media in the future. Newspapers will be gone. Evening news, frankly, is just going to be something that you'll see on the internet. TVs will be hooked up to the internet. Everything is kind of evolving to that end as it is. I mean, the days of just, broadcast news and stuff like that are just falling by the wayside. There isn't just 3 news channels that you have to, or 3 nightly news programs you have to pick from anymore. There's a number of topics on any given channel that, if it fits your cup of tea, you tune in. If you like this guy who's more religious versus this guy that talks about atheism every now and then, you have your choice now. And that's the thing. We're going to get to a point where we move from a society that never questioned. And this is just not, this ain't going back to like the turn of the 19th century. I'm talking about just like even in like the 1980s. You might have had like, someone like a George Carlin or two here or there that were openly questioning religion. But they were still in the general consensus seen as like, oh, they're just being silly. No one takes them seriously. To now just 20 years later, it's kind of like a detriment to be over religious. Because if like a politician 20 years ago would speak out against saying like, homosexuals don't have the right to marry, nothing was said about it. It was just seen like, oh, that's a strong, upstanding religious individual sticking up for what is true and right. Whereas if you go 20 years later to today, that same politician is seen as intolerant. They're not sticking up for absolute human rights. Now, granted, there's still going to be a number of people that say, oh, this person is a true individual standing up for what is right and good in God's shadow. But you hear the criticisms now. You hear the ridiculousness being outraged, saying like this guy or gal is just intolerant. They're oppressors. They're holding down society. And you have to ask yourself, just say 10, 20 years from now, do you see that trend decreasing of people that call out these people that are overly religious publicly? Because it really is, it's a very interesting time that we're living in that we're seeing that it's kind of a hindrance to be over religious, because you may see it as unfairly being stereotyped. But being overly religious now is being seen as like, oh, I guess you're against gay marriage. I guess you're just absolutely for abortion. It's like all these other things. Whereas, back in the day, it was just nothing. It was just nothing to be over religious. It was just seen as right. It was the right thing to do, and you don't really question it. There might be a few people in society that question it, but again, like the George Carlin, they're just silly. No one really takes them seriously, other than their fans and the few people that have the same mindset. But like going back to that point of the internet becoming the thing to get media out to us is something that I honestly feel will never work in religion's favor. Now, may give a number of other people that are firmly sound in the belief of the Bible, the Quran, the whatever you preach from. It may give a number of other people a platform to speak from, but often when you see those people speak out, you see so much criticism come out of the woodwork, because one thing that the internet does is it gives you the ability to be brave without a face, brave behind your keyboard. But what that also does, and some people may say, oh, that's cowardly to do that, just speak out against someone. But what that really does is it gets people's gears going and builds up a level of comfortableness, if that's a word, of being comfortable about just talking about that. And you will start seeing that transcend into public speaking. A number of people that say things on the internet that are just internet tough guys would never be tough in person to you. But when it's something like talking about ideologies, religion, stuff like that, you may start seeing, or no, you will and have start seeing people become more brave about just speaking out in public about it. Because like I said, 20 years ago, you did not see this public outrage against people who claim to be over-religious or were against gay rights, against abortion, stuff like that, to the level that you see it at today. So, I don't know. I mean, I have a hunch. I see where the trends are going. I don't know for certain, but that is something to wonder. Will religion ever become a minority consensus? And do you think it's more sooner than later that it's going to happen? That's something that I've always wondered, because I honestly feel this world will be a more happy, peaceful place without religion. That's my personal stance. You may not agree with it. You may think I'm insane to say that, and that anarchy will just reign free if no one had the fear of hell in them and damnation and being shunned by their Lord or anything like that. I would say there's a lot of hell on earth that has been created because of religion. And frankly, I want to see a world without that hell on earth that has been created just from religion. So, anyways, that's just my 2 cents about a topic that I frankly don't like talking about because I personally don't care what you believe. If you find some sort of comfort in reading a Bible, the Quran, worshiping Vishnu, Buddha, whatever the case may be, then fine. I'm all for people having happiness in this world. But I just also often wonder, will this world be happier without religion? And will that religious thought of the many people in this world, because so many religious people like to say, we are the majority. How can so many people be wrong? Well, it might not necessarily be who's right or wrong. It, to me, is more about what will be better. Belief or none. Anyway, that's just my 2 thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, have a nice day, a better tomorrow, and believe whatever you want. Because in the end, I really don't care. Unless it fucks with my life, then I have a problem. Have a good day, everyone.